going to just start from the beginning because this is the intro series. So this is just the general overview of Bituach Leumi, and then I'm going to give two more specific lectures focusing on one about children and the other about adults. So and disability, and then if we see if there's still interest, I'm going to talk about over retirement age and long-term care. But I'm just going to give you the general overview. So. I get this question so many times, and that's pretty much why I decided to do this lecture, because if you've just made Aliyah, or even if you've just been here 10 years, I always get the question, what is Bituach Leumi? So in a nutshell, Bituach Leumi is the arm of the government that is responsible for all of our health and welfare services. Meaning, even though you don't see it, Bituach Leumi is responsible for your Kupat Cholim, so that make sure that you get all of your Kupat Cholim benefits, all your health services. It's responsible for all of our, if we have any kind of welfare, we're going to talk about that in a second, but all of our unemployment and all of our just social benefits. If you're a woman and you're working and you have maternity leave, if you are divorced and your ex-spouse is not paying what they need to pay for your child care, Bituach Leumi is responsible for all of that. So it is the roof that sort of sits over all of us and that provides all of us with our services. And then obviously it's divided up into subgroups and it subcontracts out. So for example, we have Kupat Cholim because Bituach Leumi has taken the money from the government and gives it to the Kupat Cholim to serve our healthcare needs. But Bituach Leumi, because it is the roof, it receives all of the money from all of us. So it receives money from the government. But we also, all of us have to pay into Bituach Leumi. So for those of us who are used to paying taxes, in whatever country we came from, taxes are a normal thing to pay, and we pay it in various ways. But because we have such an elaborate socialized healthcare system, which means is that we are guaranteed a level of services, whether we are working or not, whether we are healthy or not, whether we are contributing or not. So obviously the taxes are going to be a little bit more. I guess for some people, they consider it a lot more. But sometimes people aren't aware of everybody who needs to pay into the Bituach Leumi system. So when you first made Aliyah, and I don't know if anybody's just made Aliyah with less than a year ago, please put it in the chat so I can, I'm happy to see who that is. But anybody who's been here less than a year, you're not required to pay Bituach Leumi. It's like your, I don't know, your generous year. The government says, thanks for coming. You don't have to pay in yet. You just get the benefits. Hang tight. However, when your 12 months are up, and you should get a notification from, if you're from North America, Nefesh B'Nefesh, or you should get a notification from Bituach Leumi or Misrad HaKlita, although that doesn't always happen, it tells you, hi, your Aliyah is going to be up in X amount of time. You need to start paying into Bituach Leumi. And that is either you pay in because you work, and those are anybody who's working, and I have man, women, children, because anybody over 16, as soon as you pay with a salary receipt, it's automatically being deducted from your salary receipt. And if you aren't working and you are an oleh, or you are a student, as you see over in the right-hand corner, or you're a woman who's not married, then you need to be paying into Bituach Leumi on a monthly basis, and usually you pay it in on a every 3 months. You can pay in. Now we're going to talk about that in a second, how you pay in. But you need to understand that you do need to pay in. And then everyone asks me, well, what does that mean? An unmarried woman versus a married woman. And that means a married woman isn't obligated to pay because she is if she's with her spouse and she is paying in through the spouse to Bituach Leumi who's working. If the spouse is not working, then he or she needs to pay in a certain amount as a married man into Bituach Leumi. If you are what they're called a toshav chozer, a returning citizen, you were gone for, it doesn't matter how long, the minute you're re-recognized as a returning citizen, you have to pay again into the system. Okay, So again, I'm going through. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat and I will be happy to answer them at the end. Okay, how and what are we paying? And we're going to get to how we're paying in a second. But what am I paying? So there's two things that you're paying in Bituach Leumi. There's something called Mas Briut, and people see this on their salary receipts all the time, and they're like, what is this? So Mas Briut is the health tax that we all pay in order to guarantee that we're going to have a healthcare system that is going to be covering us if we need it, and not one that will crash. This is automatically deducted from your salary if you're working. It's about 1% of your salary that you pay in automatically. And then there's another payment called the Bituach Leumi payment, which is the national insurance payment. And that's only, you pay in only until you're retired. So the health tax, the Mas Briut, you pay ad 120 until the end. So it's a small amount. It's about 80 shekels a month if you're not working. And the Bituach Leumi, the national insurance, which goes for all the other benefits, you pay, it's about 3% of your salary, a little bit less. And that comes out of your salary receipt as well if you are working. And here is the catch, because your employer is paying the other 7%. When you work for yourself, you are paying about 10% of your declared income is going to pay your Mas Briut, your health tax, and your Bituach Leumi. Okay, so that's important to note. Those of you who are freelance or you are what they call an osek pato, or however you call yourself, you need to pay in Bituach Leumi on your own in order to get the benefits. And you have to pay around 10% of your income. Now, it goes up, obviously, as your income goes up. The same with Bituach Leumi, meaning the more you pay, the slightly higher percentage you may pay to Bituach Leumi. But if you are working on your if you are a salaried worker, it's more or less 3%. It's not going to go much above 3%. How do you pay this money? Okay, and I get this all the time, and I can't tell you how many people I have helped pay in because it's a little confusing. If you are employed by somebody else, it's easy. You just get your salary receipt, and your salary receipt is called a tlush in Hebrew, and this is very, very important. You must always get it, meaning in today's day and age, a lot of these salary receipts are now online. Make sure that you ask your employer for a copy of your tlush every month. And now even they have these systems that you can go in and download. I recommend people download your tlush every month, because you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you decide to quit, or you're laid off, or the company closes, etc. And then it is enormously difficult to get this salary receipt. And it is crucial for so many other things. Let's say in the future you want to apply for benefits. You have to prove all sorts of things. Trust me, I had a client who just tried to figure out why she was being fined by Bituach Leumi because they said that she owed them money. And we wanted to go through to see her salary receipts because we were pretty sure that it wasn't accurate, but she couldn't find them anymore. This is from 22 or 23. So always make sure these are crucial things that you have to hold on to your tlushim. Okay, but you're going to pay it through there. If you are receiving a stipend through Bituach Leumi, all except for the long-term care, but we'll talk about that in a second. But let's say you're receiving a stipend, like you're getting unemployment or you're getting disability, it automatically comes off from the stipend. That's why you see less money than they said that you would get, so you don't have to worry about paying. But remember, if you're a freelancer or a student, you have to pay directly now. And they're usually not so great about telling you that you have to pay, and you don't all of a sudden wake up and realize that you owe the government 5 years worth of Bituach Leumi money every month. So you can either go online and you can pay online with a credit card. It has to be an Israeli credit card. And you have to have your Bituach Leumi, your Teudat Zehut. If you have the one with the chip, the biometric, it has to be validated. If you have those two things, then you can go and pay online with your credit card. If not, you can also request that they send you what they call the pinkas, which is like the checkbook, and you can go into the post office physically, give them the little receipt, and pay them with a check, pay them with cash, pay them with a credit card to the post office. That is still an option, even in today's digital age, if you want to pay like that. But you must pay. If you don't pay, they will eventually charge you interest. Okay, now, let us say that we realize that we are eligible for something from Bituach Leumi. So what are the main things that we have from Bituach Leumi? First of all is unemployment. Okay, and I hear this from a lot of people that they think because they're Olim and they didn't work so much that they're not eligible for unemployment if they get laid off. And that is not the case. You are definitely eligible for unemployment. You have to work X amount of months over a period of time. So I urge anybody, before discounting that you're not eligible, I urge you to check out the eligibility. You can ask me, you can go on the website, etc., but see how many months you worked versus how in a certain period of time to see if you're eligible to apply for unemployment. Now, the other things that new Olim often don't know is if you haven't worked enough, but you do not have an income, then you are eligible something called Haftachat Hachnasa, which guarantees you income basically up to the poverty line. But it's minimum wage was about 5,800 shekels. So they give you 75% of that. It's for sure not a lot, but it is at least something that if you are not earning, it can help you. The trick is that you cannot own a new car or even a newish car. It's one of those strange caveats that people often ask me about. You cannot own a new car. However, you can own an old car, and if you have any type of health issue, then you can also demonstrate that you need the car to get to medical appointments. So I always tell people, just look and apply. The worst case they'll say is no one's coming to your house. No police are going to come and say, we have to take away your car. Nothing bad will happen. They will just reject you if they don't say that you're eligible, if they don't think you're eligible. So I always tell people apply. The second big thing that you are eligible through Bituach Leumi is disability or nechut for yourself or for your child. And the main things that people don't know about this is that you have to be under age 62, meaning before retirement age of a woman currently, that you made aliyah in order to apply for the disability. So I meet a lot of olim who come in, let's say they're late 50s, who have chronic health conditions, significant health, and they all say, okay, I want to work, I want to try, etc. But the point is that you won't be able to apply for disability after you hit the 62 post-retirement age. So I urge people who are in this situation to, yes, apply for disability, because it can really increase, first of all, it can just increase your benefits. And if you're already suffering from a chronic illness, at least you could, get the benefits to which you are entitled. And the last big group of benefits that people apply to, and what's an important thing about disability that people also don't understand is they bring over boxes and boxes of medical information from whatever their host country is, thinking that they're just going to present that to Israel. So no, because A, no one has patience to go through everything. B, the systems are very different, and something that was acceptable in let's say in the United States, and that healthcare system is not necessarily acceptable in this system. So what I always tell people is you need to go to Israeli specialists, one specialist for each area that you are suffering from for your disability, and translate the documents. Also, when I say translate, I mean not just the language, but also into the lingo of the system, and then use that documentation with which to apply for disability. Now, there's a funny couple of things here that go on. Let's say you have a child with a disability and you're making aliyah, something very specific like Down syndrome, okay? You still need to demonstrate to Bituach Leumi that your child has Down syndrome. You can't just appear to the committee and say, look at my child, it's obvious they have Down syndrome. You need to bring medical documentation that shows the disability and that it impinges on the functioning of the child. So that's important that when you make aliyah, or if you've already made aliyah, but you're in contact before you apply, make sure you have documentation that you can show the doctors here. And the last topic is long-term nursing care, which is Bituach Si'ud, which is either money and or hours of care that are offered to a person who has difficulty functioning with what they call your ADLs, which is your activities of daily living. And this is different than disability, and this is important to understand. You are eligible for disability, and we'll get there in a second, if you demonstrate that whatever disability you have is affecting your ability to work and function in the world, and you are eligible for long-term nursing care, if you demonstrate that your activities of daily living are significantly impaired. So there are two different things and two different ways of proving that. Now, the other important thing to know about Bituach Leumi is that they have two types of criteria. There's the medical criteria. Is your disability significant enough that it affects your ability to work? It affects your ability to function? And there is the financial threshold, which means that you cannot be earning over a certain amount of money. Now, for somebody who is has a disability and wants to apply, that means you cannot be working full-time or making a salary over 6,500 shekels a month and then say, but I have a disability. You need to demonstrate that you are not able to work full-time and you are not able to earn full-time in order to be eligible to apply. So if you are suffering from some kind of disability and you think that you would be eligible, but you are working full-time, but you know that that is not going to be lasting for that much longer, or you think you might not be able to hold that on, I tell people, slow down, stop with the full-time job, or don't work, if you can do that, for 3 months in order to apply for your benefits for Bituach Leumi. So you cannot be working full-time when you are applying. That's a very important thing to know. Another thing to note is you are not eligible to apply for these benefits until you if you are new ole, until you have been living here for a year. You can start the process at 9 months, but you cannot start collecting until you have been here for a year. The exception to that is the long-term care, or what we call shirutim miyuchadim, which are special services that go along with disability. If you have severe, if you are in a wheelchair or you're really not functional without 24-hour care, then you can apply before that point. Okay, now, in general, these are the main areas that we are going to get from Bituach Leumi. And that's important to understand, okay? We've got our money, which comes in the form of a stipend. We have discounts on transportation. If you have disability or you get 50% discount on your transportation costs. And you get a discount on your property tax, depending on what you are, how much disability you are getting. So disability can be full disability, which is 100%, all the way down to 20%, where you get some acknowledgement. You only start getting a stipend, though, when you have 60% of disability. Okay, so if you're going to apply and you need or want the stipend, then you need to know that you have to meet the criteria. So we're going to get more into that in other times. But I just wanted to give you the general overview of what you are eligible for, what you need to put into the system, and what are the things that you can get out of the system. And hopefully you will just continue to donate and help the rest of the country, and you will never need those services. But if you do need those services, then I want you to know that those are available to you.